They're moving on to long ball number 3 here on Monday morning. The MLS teams reported for 2025 preseason camp already. Jason, can you believe it? We've been talking transfers and rumors and whatnot, but players actually showed up to facilities, but there were a couple absentees, most notably Lucho Acosta not showing up to his camp.
Yeah, this I think this has been bubbling for a bit. That Lucho Acosta not incredibly happy with his situation at Cincinnati. I mean, he's done so much for this team, and I'm never really I grew up in an era of American sports, watching the NFL and baseball, and any time a player didn't show up for camp, and they called it a holdout, right? Like, he's that player's holding out.
Oh yeah.
I think because I was so keenly interested in my team's success, if one of my team's players held out, I hated that guy. How dare that guy? How dare you not show up for camp and hurt the team? This could be a Super Bowl year. This could be a World Series year. What are you doing? Little bit different attitude now as an adult.
You're more labor friendly.
Yeah, I think that's where you kind of recognize, and yeah, it's easy. I mean, it's a little bit different in MLS, right?
Yeah, this is where the business model kind of comes in conflict with how the world works, right?
Yeah, well, yes, and I guess what I was going to say is, when we talk about the NFL or Major League Baseball, or the NBA, we are talking about the top players in the world in their sports. Like, there's no question the best football players on the planet play in the NFL because really nobody else does it. There's no question the best baseball players in the world play in Major League Baseball, et cetera, et cetera. So when those players hold out and they're already making $20 million a year, you're like, whoa, wait a second. Why do you need more? Like, you got enough already. The rest of us don't have $20 million. Why are you holding out? And in Major League Soccer, it's like it's obviously different. Those players are not the best players in the world, generally speaking, and they're not getting paid like the best players in the world. So, Kellen or Luciano Acosta, rather, is making good money, and he's making way more money than most of us, but it's not as though he's making 20, 25, $30 million a year. So, how much kind of grace do you give him to hold out or to make his point when it comes to his salary and what he thinks he's worth? And obviously this is part of it too, right? Those players who are holding out or do hold out in other big American sports, even if they're making a lot of money, they're holding out because they don't think they're being paid relative to their actual value. They think the club or the team is not paying them as much as they are worth. And I think that is where Lucho Acosta obviously is, right? He is a guy that I think has had bigger ambitions than Major League Soccer. Remember, once upon a time, there was a move to PSG on the table.
Yeah, I was just going to say he was PSG Connect, right?
Yeah, he was at DC United. PSG was going through an injury crisis. I think Neymar had gone down or something, and there was this deal that was about to come together for Lucho Acosta to go to PSG, and it fell apart. I don't remember exactly why it fell apart. But it fell apart. I think it was maybe not the best handling of things from the DC United side of the equation. Obviously, he went to Mexico. I think he did okay, but not great. He came back to Cincinnati or came back to MLS and came to Cincinnati, and it helped turn them into one of the best teams in the league after being so bad. Remember that they started life in MLS as one of the worst teams in the league.
They've come a long way, in fairness, yeah.
Yeah. So what is the balance here, right? And what is it that he wants, right? This is Pat Noonan on Media Day for MLS, which just happened. He said, "We're continuing to support Lucho. I know after the game there was disappointment around the loss. This is last year in the playoffs, and maybe on his end, but we're looking forward to having him back at the facility in the next couple days." Which as look, what is the head coach of the team going to say? Like,
we lost.
Damn it, Lucho, get here right now. How dare you? He's not going to do that publicly. That's not the right approach. It's nominally bad for FC Cincinnati, but I don't necessarily think it's the kind of thing that's going to ruin their season, unless they just mishandle it, unless it just truly is an unfixable situation for Lucho Acosta.
And then one more notable camp absentee Sebastian Driussi no-showing the Austin FC as he is pushing for a move to River Plate, but that deal is not finalized. So he's now moving into the territory where he might get some disciplinary measures put against him by the league and the club.
Well, I mean, yeah, this is kind of normal too, right? When there's a potential transfer, the players like, I want to force this through, or I want to go. Why am I going to show up for it with a team I don't want to play for? There's always some level of potential injury, whether every time you step on a field. And I imagine that if you're Sebastian Driussi in this situation, you're thinking, why would I put myself in any jeopardy at all of getting hurt and undercutting the possibility of a move? I think Estudiantes of Argentina has also been mentioned as involved in a potential move for Driussi. I think Tom Bogert reported that, said they're working on personal terms. But, of course, it all comes down to what Austin is going to get for Driussi. And they just spent a lot of money to bring Brandon Vasquez in from Monterrey as their lead striker. So, and it feels as though the Driussi period is definitely over. So this is sooner rather than later, and it's definitely going to happen. It's just, I think, a matter of figuring out those final numbers. And I think we'll be tracking this because what is Driussi worth? I mean, he had one very good season in Austin, a couple of kind of not so great seasons. I think obviously Austin maybe was a bit of a mirage when they overperformed in that first season. Because
funny how that keeps happening to these expansion teams. They have those first season bumps. Isn't that weird?
Yeah. And then they obviously fired Josh Wolf, so it's a new direction for the club. And Driussi probably isn't a part of that. And that means that also means, and this is the problem for Austin, that their leverage is seriously damaged. I mean, everybody kind of is aware that Driussi doesn't really fit what they're doing and is probably out the door. But if he doesn't show up, and now Austin is like, well, now we have a problem child on our hands, and he's ruining our leverage, it only makes it tougher to sell him for a good price to whether it's the Estudiantes or River Plate, whoever.
We shall see how this pans out. Just got to say, just reviewing all this news and notes, it's MLS a far cry from when they used to be with interacting with the world and all of these kind of giving some meat on the bone for transfer